Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to KDDL Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain forward-looking statements about the company, which are based on the beliefs, opinions, and expectations of the company as on date of this call. These statements are not guarantees of future performance and involve risks and uncertainties that are difficult to predict. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Yashu Sabu, Chairman and Managing Director, KDDL Limited, for his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, and a very good afternoon and welcome to everyone for our Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. I am joined by Mr. Sanjeev Mason, Executive Director and CFO of KDDL, and Mr. Ritesh Agarwal, CFO of Ethos. And we also have SGA, our Investor Relations Advisors, on the call. I trust everyone has had the chance to go through our updated investor presentation already uploaded on the exchanges. Let's start with a quick overview on the overall business. We witnessed a strong recovery in the business during the quarter 2 of FY22 in both our manufacturing and retail businesses as the economy recovered back strongly after the second wave of COVID-19. There was encouraging demand in the manufacturing business as watch manufacturers increased their business operations, leading to better order inflows. And our retail business, Ethos, posted a strong recovery in sales led by reopening of malls and complemented by strong online-led sales. A brief on the financial performance on a consolidated basis for the quarter. The consolidated revenue for Q2 FY22 increased by 39% YOY to rupees 193 crores. Consolidated EBITDA for quarter 2 increased by 33% YOY to 23.2 crores, and consolidated PAT for the quarter increased by 76% YOY to rupees 6.6 crores. I now come to the manufacturing business, which consists of watch components, precision engineering, and the packaging business. In quarter 2, FY22, the manufacturing business revenue increased by 53% YOY and 15% quarter-on-quarter to rupees 53 crores. The revenue share of watch components and precision engineering business for the quarter stood at 72 and 24% respectively. Revenue from watch components business increased by 53% YOY to 38.4 crores and from precision engineering business by 33% YOY to 12.5 crores. EBITDA for quarter 2 FY22 increased by 84% YOY to 9.7 crores, and the profit after tax increased almost 7 times in the quarter 2 FY22 to rupees 4 crores. During this quarter, the demand both from domestic and export markets improved. Most customers ramped up their operations as market conditions were reaching near normal levels. The major growth of the demand was witnessed from the exports market. We expect the positive demand to continue going ahead as the economy continues to unlock and manufacturers ramp up their capacity to cater to the additional demand. The demand from the Swiss market particularly remained healthy. The trend of declining volumes in the low price point continues, while the higher price segments are growing strongly. We continue to move up the value chain on the back of an excellent product portfolio and service, catering more to the higher price segments. With this, our product portfolio is aligned with the market demand and it leads to a higher overall profitability for the company. In our precision engineering business, IGIM, the demand was better compared to the last quarter, majorly due to the robust demand from the exports market, including a revival in the aerospace industry. Domestic demand continues to show a gradual recovery, but with cyclical variations in different segments. We are witnessing a healthy flow of inquiries and RFQs from many large accounts and customers mainly in the export market, and expect this trend to continue. These market developments give a positive outlook on the growth of our precision engineering business. At Estima, our Swiss hams manufacturing company, the demand has been stable with a good recovery. We remain confident that in the coming quarters, with normalization and improvement of market conditions, we will see healthy growth of revenue and a turnaround to profitability in this business. We expect all our manufacturing businesses to continue the growth momentum and post healthy growth across the major markets and economies. During the current year, KDDL has raised rupees 25 crore through a rights issue, and the proceeds of the rights issue was planned to be invested in the material subsidiary Ethos to the tune of 18.75 crores, and the balance was for general corporate purposes. The company has already utilized the amount allocated for general corporate purposes, and the investment in Ethos will be done by participating in the rights issue of Ethos Limited. The board of directors of Ethos has already approved the rights issue of the amount not exceeding rupees 25.5 crores by issue of up to 4.58 lakh equity shares of rupees 10 each at a premium of rupees 540 per share. KDDL holds about 77% in Ethos, both directly and indirectly, and KDDL will participate in the rights issue. Now, I come to discussion on our watch retail business, Ethos. As I mentioned in my introductory speech, the recovery in the Ethos business was led by reopening of the stores and a strong online-led sales across the country. In Maharashtra, the malls were allowed to be opened only much later, and even then, only fully vaccinated staff and customers were allowed to enter. Despite these challenges, Ethos posted a strong revenue growth during Q2 on YOY and on Q-on-Q, quarter-on-quarter basis. Even if you compare pre-COVID quarters, our Q2 FY22 revenue is up by 28% as compared to Q2 of FY20. That is the year 2019-20, that's the pre-COVID year. And our H1 revenue compared to the pre-COVID year is up by 8%. This, as I mentioned, despite the fact that the first quarter of the current year was witnessed a complete shutdown in the country, and up to the middle of the second quarter, Maharashtra remained under lockdown. Our profitability was impacted, if you compare with last year, on account of normalization of operating expenses. In H1 of the current year, the rental waiver has been much lower at about 2.6 crore rupees as compared to over 5 crores in H1 of FY21. We continue to see an even stronger performance in Q3 on the back of a good festive season. The upcoming wedding season is further expected to boost the demand for luxury watches, and luxury watches continues to be one of the best gifting options during this wedding season. One of the key highlights which I would like to mention, as it is already mentioned on our website, is that we have signed an agreement with some new luxury watch brands. This includes Bovet, a very well-known brand with several prestigious international awards. And I may mention that one of the awards is the most prestigious Aiguille d'Or, which is the best watch of the year awarded by GPHE, the Grand Prix Horloge de Genève, that is the world's most prestigious horological awards. So Bovet won this award for the best overall watch in 2018. And of course, they have several other awards as well. We have also signed agreements with other high-end luxury brands such as Japek and Armin Strom, both being in the ultra high-end luxury space. This is in line with our strategy to build our exclusive brand portfolio, which will lead to improved profitability and also to shift our weight into the ultra high-end segment, which is booming strongly globally. One of the most awaited flagship store of ours at the Geo World Drive Mall in Mumbai at the Bandra Kurla complex area was inaugurated during the month of October. This was ready in the month of March of this year, but due to the extended lockdown, we couldn't open it. It is now open and has received excellent response. We will continue to follow the strategy of opening large flagship stores, which will offer a great experience to customers. It will attract higher footfalls and generate much higher revenue, profitability, and year-on-year growth as compared to smaller stores. One of the most important factors in strong recovery is also on account of our efforts to keep building on our digital capabilities. Having a well-established digital presence has strongly yielded us results during these times of COVID when we were suffering from lockdown and other disturbances. We recorded a robust quarterly online billing at 52.9 crores in Q2 FY22. Online billings contributed about 34% of the total billings in this quarter. Although the sales will grow strongly from our retail channels as well, however, we expect the digital presence to continue to be an important focus area for us. An omni-channel strategy, which Ethos led over the last 5 years, will continue to cater customers offline as well as online as per their preference in a seamlessly continuous way. We have been able to improve our stock carrying months from 7.9 months in September 2020 to 7.3 months in September 21 on the back of careful planning of inventory and purchase decisions. As mentioned earlier, the board has approved a rights issue of up to rupees 25.5 crores in Ethos, which will strengthen our balance sheet. We plan to utilize these funds for inventory in the newer stores, build digital capabilities, and on various business development initiatives. Before coming to the financial highlights, another new initiative that we have taken recently is signing up with Rimowa, a luxury luggage brand of the LVMH Group. Ethos has signed a franchisee contract with Rimowa for the opening of the first Rimowa store in Geo World Plaza, Mumbai. Founded in 1898 in Germany, Rimowa is part of the LVMH brand's portfolio since 2017. It is a global leader in premium luggage and essential tools for a lifetime of travel, and it is a brand with a huge heritage since 1898. This is a very significant step for us because it represents our first foray into luxury goods other than watches. Let me now give you the financial highlights of Ethos. Consolidated total income for Q2 FY22 increased by 27% YOY to about 137 crores. Consolidated reported EBITDA for Q2 FY22 was down 9% YOY to rupees 15.3 crores. Consolidated PAT for Q2 was down by 20% YOY to 2.6 crores due to the impact of Ind AS 116. Stock at the end of September 2021 quarter was at 212 crores as compared to 182.5 crores in September 2020. As our financials are impacted by Ind AS 116, our adjusted financials are published in the presentation, which you can look at both for KDDL and Ethos. Our pre-owned watch business, which is being run through our website secondtimezone.com, has also witnessed a huge increase in visitors in recent times. It is the largest platform, largest by far, for pre-owned watches in India. We believe the pre-owned watch business in the medium and long term has a great potential to scale up with a robust profitability. Our Second Time Zone lounge in Delhi has also witnessed good interest. We aim to become the most trusted and transparent omni-channel platform in India for trading of pre-owned watches and other luxury products. With that, I come to an end of my speech, and I now welcome your questions and participation.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The first question is from the line of Rahul Agarwal from InCred Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon and thanks for the opportunity. Hi. So I had questions on the new brand tie-ups. Congratulations for that. Just wanted to know on the luggage side, will the unit economics be very largely different versus watches in terms of inventory turns, asset turns, or margins? Secondly, if you could give some color in terms of what's really happening on the premium luggage side in India, as in how big is the market, what are the leading players, and what is the Ethos' plan over the next 2 years, and what Rimowa can actually add, over the next 2-3 years, and how is that a franchise contract? I thought that's a franchise agreement you signed with Rimowa. How is that different versus any other type of? So that's the first basically large question on the luggage side.
Okay. If there are other questions, Rahul, why don't you go ahead and ask all of them so we can answer them together?
Sure. Secondly, on the Bombay Fleury tie-up, so as I understand, it's exclusive to Ethos. So does that mean nobody else sells it in India? That is one. And secondly, the idea for the company essentially was to get into higher price range, and as you said, it's the entry into larger share of exclusive brands, ultra high-end watches. So what's the price range of these watches? That was my second question. That's all really from my side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Rahul, on luggage, obviously, so first thing about the brand, Rimowa is, of course, as I mentioned, an extremely well-known brand. It's part of LVMH Group, which is the number one group globally. And LVMH Group acquired this brand a couple of years back, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. It really sits at the very top end of business luggage and business-led high-end luxury luggage and travel accessories. You can see their boutiques pretty much worldwide in the leading malls. I believe that when we open the boutique in Mumbai, it will be the best offering for professional business and high-end leisure travel. I think the price point would be about 20 or 30% or a little bit more above their nearest competitor. The business, I'm not really going to be able to give you really forward-looking figures on projection of sales. But you asked whether the basic economics are very different from the watch business. No, they are not. They are not, except one significant point is that the amount of inventory in terms of months of stock that we have to hold is probably going to be lesser, because the range of stock is also lesser than, so, in a typical watch store, we would hold at least 300 to 400 SKUs. That might not be the case in the case of luggage. But otherwise, the economics are not very different, whether, when you talk in terms of margins or whatever. I believe this has a very strong potential, given the fact that in India we are just at the cusp of, international business travel, and so on. I know that there has been a lot of interest in this brand. We were not the only ones chasing this brand and trying to get them, trying to do this franchise with them. We're going to start with one boutique in Mumbai, and hopefully this will be followed soon with another boutique in Delhi. And then we have to, then it's really, we are in discussions on evolving the complete strategy for India. So,
yeah.
Again, luggage like travel was one of the most severely hit businesses over the last 2 years due to COVID. But as you know now, travel is going to come back with a bang. It's already back with a bang, and we can expect a very strong takeoff when we start with this project. As far as Bowe is concerned, yes, it's a high price point watch, very exclusive. They make everything in-house, and I will encourage you to check out their website and all the fabulous distinction that this brand has got. Their price points essentially start from around a 15 lakh rupee and go all the way up to a crore and often even higher. They are specialized on bespoke watches. So they make a range of watches, but if a collector wants, an ultra high net individual wants them customized or wants a specific watch customized with, special painting or special, features, they are very well positioned to do that. And yes, it is exclusive in the sense that there is going to be no other party in India which will carry these watches. The first boutique with Bowe will hopefully open in the first quarter of next calendar year.
Got that. Thanks for answering this, Yasho. Just a follow-up on the Rimowa thing. Could you help me understand, any sense of the luxury premium luggage market in India? I mean, what's the size like? And secondly, the follow-up on... Yeah.
Can I get back to you on this?
Yeah, sure. All right. I'll come back in the queue.
Readily with me, but I'll get back to you on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question is from the line of Deepan Sankara Narayanan from Trustline PMS. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir, and thanks a lot for the opportunity, and congrats for a good set of numbers.
Hi, Shankar.
Hi, sir. Firstly, on Ethos side, so we are quite happy to see the sales number increasing at a very good run rate. But we are a little more concerned on the fixed expenses, which has gone up by 55% to 23 crores. So now, as the stores are fully opened, now our total expenses have been fully recognized. So therefore, we can assume that incremental revenue addition will contribute maximum to the profitability.
Yeah, sorry, your question was not very clear. Can you just repeat that, Shankar, please?
Yeah, our total fixed expenses, like employee cost and other expenses put together, has increased by 55% this quarter for year on year. So now, as the stores are fully open, so we can assume that costs have been recognized fully. So incremental revenue addition will be mostly coming down to profitability. Is that the right assumption?
Partially, yes, because you are comparing with last year, right? So last year, there was a huge rental waiver that was given by all malls, which has not happened in this half year, and especially not in quarter two, right? Because last year, practically all malls gave 70, 80, some malls even gave 100% waiver for several months. That is not the case this year because the malls also have suffered. So that is one big reason. So to that extent, yes, the costs are now, what you're seeing is normalized, despite the fact that the sales was impacted. This year, the sales was impacted by the close down, but the costs were not that much lower. And on manpower costs, last year we had reduced manpower and also, enforced some salary cuts during the first half of the year, like most other companies in the retail business. This year, we took a very conscious decision not to do that. And whether a store was closed or not closed, there were no cuts in salary. And of course, so the costs were very normal. So in a sense, what you're saying is correct. The cost base is the normalized cost base. And of course, as a percentage of revenue, these costs will come down when sales go up in the coming quarters.
Okay, that's great to hear, sir. And Also, this exclusive brand contribution, what is that contribution for the current quarter? And also, what is the plans of CapEx for full year? So we are saying we are adding few more stores in this luggage and also Bovet exclusive store. So what will be the CapEx amount for this year and next year?
The contribution of exclusive brands in H1, just hold on, let me just get back to this, is about 26%. I have to mention that we took a strategic call to withdraw some exclusive brands from some third-party websites and platforms. And that was a strategic move because we want to control the pricing of these brands more and want to offer much more through our own website. So that has led to a little depression, temporary depression in the sale of exclusive brands. But this is temporary and we expect it to bounce back strongly and in a more healthy fashion within the next 2 quarters. As far as the CapEx is concerned, on the exclusive brands, though the percentage has come down, in absolute terms, the value has remained the same, and we expect a very strong bounce back in this quarter. As far as your question on CapEx is concerned, let me see if we have the figures of the balance CapEx. But if I were to, so I know that Nova store will not be fitted out in this financial year. It will probably start Q1 of the next financial year. The Bombay boutique is already under fit out. I expect the capex is not going to be very, very high in this financial year, in the remaining part of this financial year. Probably of the order of about 3 to 4 crores, maybe a little bit more. Big max 5 crores.
Okay, sir. And lastly, from my side, so can you update us in terms of process for demerger or IPO, which we are planning for Ethos? So when this process is expected to get completed?
Shankar, we are in, this is under active discussion. We have been in touch with some advisors and we have been advised that we should be cognizant of the current healthy situation in the capital markets. So this is under discussion, and as soon as we have a final decision on this, of course, we're going to come back to you pretty soon.
Okay. Sure. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you. Thanks, Shankar.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vikram Vilas Suryavanshi from PhillipCapital. Please go ahead.
Hi, Vikram.
Yeah, hi, sir. Good afternoon, and congratulations for strong recovery. And I think recovery was pretty strong in the manufacturing also.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think I've got answers for some of the questions, but on taking further to the kind of recovery we have seen in manufacturing, how is the outlook for growth for Precision as well as the watch, if you can highlight? That was one question. And second, you normally share the numbers for the scheme also. So how was the number for this quarter in terms of revenue and PAT that we get?
Right. For the Estima numbers, I'm going to reach out to Sanjeev. He's on the call. Unfortunately, we are not in the same place. He's actually visiting Bangalore, the Precision Engineering Company. So he's going to answer that. But your first question was on manufacturing and the outlook there. We have a very positive outlook on manufacturing. On watch components, as I mentioned in my initial speech, I think we are seeing a strong demand coming from the high-end segments in export, and this is more profitable than the other segments. So while the quantity is not growing, the value is growing, and the value addition is growing, and that's good for us. On the precision engineering side, again, we are conscious of the fact that the growth in this business has not been as what we had projected earlier. These things happen when you set up a new business. Sometimes, your initial projections and thoughts have to be calibrated and rethought. In the precision engineering business, we are changing to stress more on the higher value and higher profitability segments like aerospace, defense, electric vehicles, and similar segments, and away from some other segments. We believe that there is a strong growth potential in this, though what we realize is that especially in the aerospace and defense, there has been a slowdown owing to COVID, but it's going to pick up rapidly. The gestation is not going to be very quick, but I think you will start to see a great momentum after 2-3 quarters in the precision engineering. On Estima, can you answer the question on Estima?
You wanted to know the revenue and the profitability of the Estima for the quarter and the years? H1?
Yes. Yeah. For the quarter itself. Yeah.
For the quarter as such. This quarter, Readymade have the revenue numbers for the H1, which is around 1.2 million revenue.
Okay.
So 1.2 million Swiss franc. But I can just give you an indication that in the quarter 2, the revenue was almost double compared to the previous quarter.
Understood.
And the revenue growth is decent growth which is happening as in the quarter 2, the situation was more or less normal. And with the normalization of the operations, all the expenditure and the overheads is also back to the normal level. The last year there was some reduction and some support from the government. Now we have a normal overheads and the revenue is also on the growth and normal levels. Hello.
Understood.
Yeah. Any more questions, Vikram?
Okay. And one typically also give broadly how was the repeat sale just for my record purpose that
In Ethos?
Yeah, in Ethos, sir.
I think the repeat sales is, I'm going to get the exact figure for you, but from what I understand, it's pretty much in the norm of about 33-34% when I last saw it. But I'll get back to you with the exact figures, Vikram.
Yeah, and I think thank you very much and all the best, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Ronak Vora from AUM Fund Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir.
Hello, Ronak.
I had one question on the Ethos side. Basically, so I just wanted to understand our 3 to 5 year vision. So do you want to create a luxury focused, distribution channel for all the luxury brands out there, like the way we are entering in baggage segments? Are we planning to enter any other segments like eyeglasses or something like that?
Okay, Ronak, if you have other questions, why don't you ask all of them?
I
We
just
can
have
answer
one
all
question
together.
and maybe a follow-up on the same.
Okay. So, in a 3 to 5 year vision, yes, we do have the vision to expand to luxury segments outside watches. We believe that the experience we have in the luxury business, the experience to understand and manage luxury brands, our understanding and insight of the luxury customer in India, the creation of our omni-channel and digital platform, specially suited for the luxury business. It's not a FMCG or a fashion business. Luxury business has its own speciality, and I think we've got great insights, unique insights in that. So we believe we can leverage this to outside the watch business. Luxury luggage and travel, of course, is one segment. As I mentioned, we made an entry into this with the franchise of Rimowa. But of course, there are a lot of other closely related luxury segments as well, and we are discussing and looking at various segments, including branded jewelry, which is very closely linked to watches. Branded and internationally, jewelry is very close, and many retailers internationally who retail watches also retail branded jewelry. So an extension into branded jewelry is pretty logical, and we are looking at that. And there are other segments also that we are looking at in the luxury segment, and our 3 to 5 year vision certainly captures that.
Okay. And sir, in terms of growth or top line focus for Ethos, so where do we want to see in the next 3 to 5 years? Is it like 3x or 4x going ahead, or just to give a whole picture, or what your internal targets are?
Well, we'd love to. We are ambitious, and we have we continue to discuss how we can make our targets more ambitious and more aggressive. I'm not really sure whether we can share exactly what targets, but I can assure you that there's going to be very strong growth going forward. About 2 or 3 years ago, we had said that in 4 years, 4 to 5 years, we will hit. Our target is for 1,000 crores turnover and 10% EBITDA. This was something that we spoke of about. I think it was 3.5 years ago. If you take away the 2 years, gap years of COVID, I think we are on that track, and 2 years from now we should be, close to those kind of targets. But that's not the goal. That's only a stepping stone. I believe there is a lot of growth left after that. What I would like to say is also this. India is just at the threshold of a consumption boom, especially in the premium and luxury segments. We are approaching the threshold level of a per capita income of $2,500. It's around this threshold that disposable income and non-essential spending starts to take off. Luxury spending starts a little bit higher. I believe Indian GDP growth will meet its high targets of 8% or around that over the next few years. There will be a rapid growth in wealth, especially in the higher segments, and therefore there is reason to believe that in the luxury segment there will be strong growth, definitely double-digit growth, probably more than just simple double-digit growth. It will be a healthy double-digit growth. So we have a very positive outlook on a 3 to 5 years time frame.
Okay. And sir, lastly on the reselling model, so can you just give me a brief overview? I'm new to the company, so I'm not sure when you were talking about this, if you can just touch upon it.
So we've spoken about this several times, Ronak, and I would encourage you also to visit the website, secondtimezone.com. If you happen to visit Delhi, do visit the Second Time Zone lounge that we have. That gets you a sense. It's not only the numbers that matter. I think the finesse and what we're trying to do, which is very important in the luxury business. I would encourage you to sort of feel that. As far as the business is concerned, buying of pre-owned watches, we buy pre-owned watches, we refurbish them, we check if they are authentic, we refurbish them, we offer them for sale with a 2-year warranty. Everything is done officially. These are officially imported watches. Everything is sold officially, and it's a business that is growing very rapidly, not only in India but globally. If you Google pre-owned watches, you will see several global websites that have grown rapidly over the last 3 to 4 years. and we are experiencing the same trend in India.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ronak Jain from Jain Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. A couple
Hi.
of questions from my end. Firstly, at what valuation you will be raising the money through rights issue in EPOS? Also, secondly, what can be the sustainable margins for EPOS business once business normalizes post-pandemic?
Sorry, can you repeat the second question, Ronak, please?
So what will be the sustainable margins for EPOS business once business normalizes post-pandemic?
Right. Are there any other questions?
No, that's all.
Okay. So the rights issue of Ethos is at 540 rupees premium, so 550 rupees total. And that translates to a valuation of about 1,000 crores.
Okay.
Sustainable margins in Ethos, as I mentioned, our goal is to get to an EBITDA of about 10%. We believe an EBITDA of 10 to 11% is the sustainable margin in Ethos. It will take some time to reach 10%, about 2 years or so, because we are still, the operating leverages are now starting to kick in. And the gross margin growth, which comes from a greater share of exclusive high margin brands, that is still playing out. And over the next 2 years, then we will reach the stable.
All right. Great. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pratik Podar, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So just Hi, sir. I hope you're doing well and keeping greetings. Just 2 questions, sir. In your journey towards 10% EBITDA margin, what is the gross margin you are targeting? That's question number 1. And second, across your format in Ethos, if you can just help me with the net working cycle and the inventory which is required to be carried. Just 2 questions. That's it.
Right. So in the EBITDA calculation, I don't think the gross margin is from where we are. The EBITDA is emerging, as I mentioned, largely due to operating leverage kicking in. Yes, the gross margin changes a bit, but again, not very substantially from where we are, due to the fact that a higher share of the business is going to come from exclusive brands, which typically have a higher gross margin. So there's probably going to be something like I estimate about 0.5% increase in gross margins, but a larger part is going to come from the operating leverage side of things.
Got it. Answer the second question.
Net working capital. So, currently, about 4 or 5 years ago, we were at about 9 months of working capital at cost. Currently, we are down to about 7 months. I believe this is the level that we would stay at. Paid inventory is less because we do enjoy credit period from brands which varies from 15 days to 180 days, depending on the brand. So paid inventory would probably be about 4 to 5 months. I believe this is the level where it would stay broadly. I do want to add that this compares actually pretty favorably with global benchmarks on inventory levels in the luxury watch business. Globally, they tend to be in the region of 10 to 12 months. But of course, globally, since the interest rates are in India, the cost of money is lower, we need to be more circumspect. We need to be more careful about what we order, what we stock. And I believe we can operate at a level 25 or 30% below, or even more, 30-35% below what are global benchmarks.
So if I may ask a follow-up, just the difference between paid inventory and inventory at cost of 7 months, is it a part of inventory on return basis? where it is being funded by the brand owner?
No. What is my inventory is, let's say, 7 months, but on an average, if I enjoy 2 months of credit, then my paid inventory is only 5 months. So it's essentially the credit period, the average credit period from my vendors.
Okay. And
net working capital month.
understood, sir. And last question, sir. Watches is a very long tail business. For that, omni-channel is critical. With us not having an app, how much of a big business opportunity are you missing over there? Because it would be very critical for you to.
Watches is a very long tail business.
In the sense, you need a lot of SKUs, right? It is not a standardized one, right? So it's like books, to be honest. If I were to draw a comparison, it's like books, and hence omni-channel is something which is required, right? Everything can't be stored you can't stock everything in a store. So from that perspective, just trying to think about not having an app of our own and the opportunity which we are losing because of that.
Excellent question, Pratik. First of all, an app is under development, and that's one of the big moves that we are doing. In fact, last year a version was ready. We were not satisfied. Our CEO Pranav was not satisfied. His aim is to create an app which is at global levels. So we are back to that, and I think next year you should see the app. That's one point. So that's a very, very valid point. Second, mostly all watches are displayed in stores. Whatever we have, we don't have too much stock that we keep in the warehouse, and that's again a global. That's globally the scenario. In the luxury field, it is not a very long tail business. In the fashion watch business, watches in the 20, 30, 10,000 rupee price point, it's right. But in the luxury business, the reality is that most of the successful luxury brands, they're cutting back on their range. They're not offering a very wide range. They're offering specialized products. And I don't know if you know, but in some of the top brands, their top selling models are actually difficult to find. So you can't really go into a Rolex store and ask for every model. There are waiting lists, and it's not only for this brand, it's for several brands. There are waiting lists on their most popular models. So the long tail is less valid now than it was, let's say, 5 years ago.
So in that case, going forward, do you expect this 7 months of working capital of inventory to go down further, maybe to 6, 5?
Ideally, we'd love to do that. Pratik, we'd love to do that, right? But you know it as much as I do, that an Indian customer today wants the same experience in India, in a store in India, as he would want in Dubai or Singapore or London, right? They don't want a different experience. Now, if they go into a boutique, let's say an Omega boutique in London, and they see a range of 250 watches over there, and if they come into an Omega boutique in India and they see only 100 watches over there, a selection, even though I may be priced very competitively, and even though I may tell this watch, don't worry, I'm going to get it for you in 3 weeks, the general reaction is, India mein range nahi milta pura.
Got it.
So if we are to benchmark ourselves with global standards, we've got to keep that range to make the Indian customer believe and truly believe that shopping in India is better than shopping abroad. This is something which we have succeeded to do, and that's why a lot of our customers are people who used to buy abroad, but now they're buying in India because the price is competitive and the range is excellent. So we'd love to be more, to cut down stock further, but I believe it's more important to make sure that the experience we offer to our customers is the same. It's better than what they get in a London or a Singapore. And I know a lot of our customers today actually believe it. So, I think it's a matter of balancing these two objectives.
And for this luggage brand, will it be a part of Standalone, or you'll have a separate subsidiary, like the Baby Happy Ethos?
As of now, so again, how big it grows and what happens, we can't really predict. at the moment, but at the moment it's not planned as a separate subsidiary.
Do you have all India rights for this? It's a master franchise agreement for all India, pan India, or it's regional?
I'm not in a position to divulge too much of that detail yet. But as of now, this will be the only boutique of Rimowa in India.
Okay. All the best. Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Avadhoot Joshi from Newberry Capitals. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the opportunity. One comment was of the withdrawal of exclusive branded watches from third-party website. In line to that, I have also heard that there is a shortage of exclusive brands in the market, and I think this strategy of management is in line with the same. I would like to know, because this will going further, this will add to the profitability. I would like to have a view from management. Thank you.
Mr. Joshi, I think our strategy on exclusive brands is evolving, and it's based on the success we are seeing. Our digital platform, our communication on digital platform, we are successfully establishing the presence of exclusive brands in among the Indian customers, and it's important that let's say the credibility of the exclusive brands is not impacted adversely. So, and one of the aspects is to be able to control the pricing. So as you know, on third-party websites, sometimes that's not very easy. If a stock is held for a longer period of time, more and so on. And that sometimes leads to a problem because we don't want our brands, our exclusive brand portfolios to be, brands to be selling at huge discounts. We don't see the need for doing that because they are established and customers are picking up these watches. That's also a feedback that we have from our brand partners in Switzerland or elsewhere who say, look, you're doing well. Why, please don't discount the brand because it's somehow beyond a point, it impacts the credibility. So we want to control the discount. We want to have a greater say in how the brands are presented, with what environment, even on the online space. And yeah, it's part of the evolving, strengthening and evolving strategy of exclusive brands.
Understood. Thank you. That's it from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Adit Shah from Vibrant Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Shah.
Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening, sir. Lalaram here.
Thank you.
Very good evening to Yashu sir and all the team. And really happy to see the business doing really well with the recovery. I have a lot of questions. So should I just ask them together?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. My first question is on the Ethos side, the third-party websites. I believe you're referring to the likes of Tata CLiQ, Nykaa, and even Myntra, where we see a lot of your exclusive brands. So firstly, do we only put the exclusive brands, list them on these websites? Number one, can you confirm that? Number two is, what percentage of sales do we derive from these websites as of today of our overall pie? Then I want to know that Ethos valuation after the rights issue, it seems that it will be almost doubling compared to our last fundraise, which was happening at around 250 rupees. So actually it is more than doubling. And even if I go before that, I think in 18, when I believe Alchemy and other guys had invested, it was 292 per share. So even if I take that as the base, it is almost 88% higher. So I would love to know why we believe that the business valuation has doubled, and that would be helpful. Then my question is on value unlocking in Ethos. Is SES Partners Holding the only deterrent for demerger, which means that if they exit KDDL completely, will there be no further hurdle in demerging and listing? Can you please confirm that? My next question is on onboarding Patrick Hoffman on the board, who's an esteemed individual and used to head JLC, and also I think right now is involved with a very big pre-owned global watch platform. So I want to understand what is the kind of value which we are expecting to derive from such an esteemed personality, and how that can help for us, given that we are still largely an India-based company, both in new watches and pre-owned. So are we looking to further go beyond India in pre-owned or new watches? Is that something which why someone like Patrick would be helpful? So I have a lot of questions are there, but maybe if you can answer these, then I have 3-4 more questions. Sorry, sir, for this long list.
No problem. So yeah, you are right about the third party. These are platforms like Tata Click, and largely we are doing our exclusive brands on this. Essentially because we don't really want to compete with other retailers who want to put on other watches. We want to have our own portfolio there. But as I mentioned, we want to control the things better, so we are being more discerning about which kind of platform we're going to feature our watches. For the percentage of sales, Balaramji, will come back to you. We need to get this figure. I don't have it readily. Ritesh, our CFO, will get back to you on this. On the question of Ethos valuation as to why we believe the value has doubled, frankly, it's not only me who believes. It's the shareholders of Ethos, and I'm a very, very small shareholder of Ethos, but it's the shareholders of Ethos who believe that, because we are expecting quite a great response on this rights issue. So the reasons for the jump in valuation are actually pretty clear, right? The previous valuations were all done at either a time when we were impacted by COVID, we couldn't see the future very clearly, or it was on the back of 1 or 2 difficult years when we were still looking at all the regulatory headwinds and so on. I think we are through with that. We are looking at blue skies. We are looking at all the leading indicators. They are looking positive. And, I think there's every indication. If you see macroeconomic, if you see valuation of KDDL, if you see the response to the rights issue. So, while, as you know, valuation is not an exact, it's not an exact science. It is based on assumptions. But I believe we are not off the mark on this valuation, because the reasons for the increase in valuations are pretty clear. I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and if the rights issue is successful, and obviously this was discussed with the major shareholders of Ethos, and their views were sort of taken before the board of Ethos decided on a value. I believe the proof of the pudding will be in the eating, and we will see that pretty soon. As far as recovery is concerned, I think the shareholding of SAIF is obviously the most important hurdle. And frankly, I have come to a point where I'm saying, unless that is resolved, there is no point in discussing all the various scenarios. There are various scenarios that are possible, but until SAIF divests from KDDL or there is a change of law, there is nothing to be done. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to the point. We have discussed with SAIF on a number of occasions in the last, if they have any intentions of divesting. Right now it doesn't seem to be so, but when they do, then of course we will tackle this issue very proactively. Your last question was on Patrick Hoffman. Indeed, a very valuable addition to the board. It's not only that we get an international expert only because if we want to expand internationally. Our business is international. Our business depends on relationships with global brands. It depends on how ethos is viewed globally. Today, if you go and see globally top watch retailers, you will see names like Watches of Switzerland. I encourage you to go and check out Watches of Switzerland. It's a UK company. It's a listed company. They did an IPO 3 years ago. Have a look at that. It's comparable in its business strategy to what we are doing, right? Similarly, if you see Siddiqui, if you see Hourglass, these are the leading retailers. You see Bucherer in Switzerland, these are the leading retailers, and they are globally recognized. We need ethos if you want to grow and become the most powerful and the most respected watch retail or luxury retail brand in India. We need to have that international outlook, and for that we need to have these international associations, for which just sitting in India is not enough. So I think Patrick brings a lot of that international perspective. And while there are no immediate plans to go outside India, who knows? Who knows? I think the coming generation of Indians no longer recognizes the geographical boundaries of India. Right? This is the great thing about the younger generation. Shayad main aur aap, we may, say that, okay, India is, we have to somehow grow within India. I think the younger generation says, wherever there's an opportunity, we will go. So I don't think there are any predefined boundaries. We have, it's still early days. I like to say that ethos is like a startup. People say, no, my ethos is, 12 years old as a separate company. Yes, but we are in a startup field. The luxury watch business is at a startup in India. So we are a startup.
Right.
So, the sky is the limit as far as I think. So Patrick Hoffman is an addition keeping the future in mind.
Understood.
Thank you.
Sir, just if I can ask a couple of more questions.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Firstly, really love the way you explain the value addition of Patrick Hoffman in the sense that ethos needs to be valued by the Swiss brands and we need to be accepted well, although we are present in India. But I think that was something which I didn't think of. So thank you so much. And having been a shareholder of KDDL for the past 4 years, I've been a huge admirer of what we have been doing in luxury retail. And the reason why I could sort of stick with, as a shareholder even during the lockdowns where things were just not looking, there was nothing going right, was the fact that we have built such great capabilities of digitally servicing the customers.
Alaranji, you have been, I got your message also. Thank you very much. You have been, you've been a constant force. You've encouraged us and you've also questioned us. Very much appreciated. Thank you very much. Please, can you check on your questions, because I think there might be some others who may be wanting to ask as well. So please.
Okay, sure. I will keep it short. Okay, sir. My question next would be, I think, only two. One is Rimowa. So Rimowa, I just want to understand that at what level have we thought through this? Is this more like, the discussions with the brand? Has the discussions been around, how many stores we need to open over the next 12 months? Or is it still that we'll open one store and we'll see how it goes? Is that what the level of discussion is? And number two is, what are the gross margins in this business? That's it.
Right. So, Rimowa, for them, India, they know the potential of India, but they are stepping here for the first time. For us, the luggage business is a new field. So in a sense, you can say 15 years ago when we entered into the watch retail business, we said, this looks like a great field, let's enter in. And we started with one store. Today we are at 50. There were several brands who entered India with ethos when India opened. Karl F. Bucherer was one of them, right? Today it is at 14 or 15 of our stores. we have remained the exclusive partner for the brand for the last 16 years. So, typically, in a situation like this where the brand is entering India, we are entering in a new segment. There are two, of course, the brand doesn't want to enter India to open only one boutique, right? And we want to start a business to do only one boutique. However, it must start with one boutique. There will be learning from this, and we will go forward, and hopefully we will expand steadily as we have done in the watch retail business, so it may be in other segments as well. What we are clear is this: going forward in segments like luggage, branded jewelry, other luxury products, it will mostly be a very active combination of online and digital, online and physical. In fact, the online platform will be a very important part, if not the predominant part. So, and that is a sentiment that is shared mostly by all the brands, which they are saying that look, we understand that, while we may need a certain number of boutiques in the country for a physical presence for the luxury experience, the digital presence, being able to serve the entire country through digital means, is extremely important, and that will be a central theme in our strategy going forward. It's difficult to place exact numbers, but of course we have a lot of optimistic outlook on the luxury luggage segment as well as other segments that we are in.
Great. Thank you so much, sir, and as always, best wishes.
Thank you, Radharanjit.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraint, we will take that as a last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Yashu Sabu for closing comments. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I thank everybody for joining the call, and I hope I have been able to answer most of the queries. In case there are queries still remaining, please contact SGA, our investor relations partners. We will get the queries and we'll do our best to answer them very promptly. Thank you very much and have a nice day.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of KDDL Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.